Hello, my name is Francis Boyes. This is for Bio 235. So first we're going to be starting off with the cranial bones. So first is the frontal bone right there. Then we have the parietal bone right here. Then if we turn them around, we have the occipital lobe right there. Then next is the external occipital protuberance, which is right there. And that's for attachment of ligaments and the trapezius muscle. Then we have here on the side the temporal bone right there. Then we have the mastoid process, which would be right there. Then we have the styloid process, which it's not as prevalent here, but it would be a pointy thing right here. Then we have the external acoustic meatus right there. Then after that, the squamous part, the smooth part right there. Then we have the internal acoustic meatus, which if we open him up, internal would be roughly around this area. It's not as, you can't see it as much, it's right there. And that's where the vestibulocochlear nerve and the facial nerve pass through. Then we have the sphenoid bone, which is this right here, and that would be the greater wings, which would be these big, nice fosses. And then we have the lesser wings, which would be right around here. Like I said, it's not as prevalent right there. And then after that we have the sella turrica, which is right here, and that's where the pituitary gland goes. Okay, and then the optic canal is also there. And what passes through there is the ophthalmic nerve and the optic nerve. Okay, and then next we have the ethmoid bone right there. And that's where the crista galli and the cribriform plate are. And for the crista galli, that's where it houses the falx cerebri. And for the cribriform plate, that's where the olfactory nerve passes through. Okay, so next are the sutures. We just put this back on right there. Alright, so next is the sutures. That would be the coronal suture, which would be right here, and that consists of the frontal and parietal bones. Then we have the sagittal, which is right there. That consists of the parietal and the parietal, both being together. And then we have the lambdoid right there. Oh, it's hard to see here. Lambdoid right there, which connects the parietal and the lambdoid's right here, the parietal and the occipital bone. Then the squamous, that's what I'm thinking about, which connects the parietal and the temporal right there. Then after that we move on to the facial bones. So for the maxilla, that would be right there. Then the nasal bones, which would be right here. Then we have the zygomatic bone, which consists of the cheekbone right there. And then we have the ethmoid, which is behind the lacrimal gland, like right here. And then we have the vomer, which actually is part of what makes the nasal septum, which is the bottom part right here. And it connects with the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid. And then we have our mandible. So the body of the mandible is right here. The angle would be right here, but it's not as prevalent. Then we have the ramus right there. Then we have the mandibular condyle, which would be this one right there, and the coronoid process right there. Alright, now we move on to the vertebral column. Now there are 4 curves within the adult vertebral column, and that is the cervical curve, the thoracic curve, the lumbar curve, and the sacrum curve, or sacral curve, yeah. And the two primary would be the thoracic and the sacral, and the secondary would obviously be the cervical and the lumbar. For the cervical vertebrae, we have 7, and that houses the atlas, which articulates with the occipital condyles of the bone, and that allows us to turn like that or not. Okay. Then we have the thoracic vertebrae, which houses 12 vertebrae right there, and the spinous process, which would be these protrudence or horn-like, I don't know if you can see it right there, horn-like of the spine right there, and transverse would be the smaller horns right here on the side, and that allows for the articulation of the ribs. And then the intervertebral discs, if you turn them over real quick, right there allow basically cartilage in between each vertebrae to allow for compression and pressure. Yeah. So next is the lumbar vertebrae. Right here there are 5 of them. Oops, I messed it up. There are 5 of the lumbar vertebrae, and there are 5 sacrum bones, but they are fused, so it looks kind of like a huge one right there. And then lastly, we have the coccyx bone right here. There are usually 3 to 5 depending on each individual. Okay, and so that ends the vertebral column. Now we move on to the front right here. So we have the manubrium right here. Then we have the body of the sternum right there. Then we have the xiphoid process, which is this pointy part right here. And lastly, the jugular notch right there. Now for the ribs, we have our true ribs, which are right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 ribs. And those are our true ribs based on the fact that they are attached to the sternum. Then we have our false ribs, which are right here. 8, 9, 10. 8, 9, 10 right here, which are not connected to the sternum and are connected to the last one right here, so that's why they're called false. And then we also have right here our floating ribs, which are also our false ribs, and that is because they are not attached to the sternum at all, and just the vertebral column, and it gives it off that sense of floating per se. And that ends the Axial Skeleton.